right, so let's start the class properly. Last week we talked about empathizing, empathy. That's the first stage of the design thinking process. Talked about user research, how to conduct user research, when to conduct user research, what insights we're looking for in user research. Talked about competitive analysis or market research. So we talked a lot about about research in general, how to extract information, how to empathize with our users, how to garner insights from them, so that because they are the ones we are creating our applications for. So we talked about that whole that was our area of interest last week, empathizing. So this week we're going to enter defining definition, which is the second stage of the design thinking. So in defining our users or defining our problems, we're trying to understand our users for better design. Joyce, please mute your mic, please.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Okay, hold on. Okay, so now, yeah, we talked about last week. Like I said before, we talked a lot about we have gathered data. We have gathered a vast amount of data. If we all all did our tasks, so you would see that you sent the surveys to people. They gave you their responses to do with all these responses. How does this response? How does these words and complaints and feedback? How do you take these complaints and feedback and channel it to a design on Figma? So that's our main interest here. That's the main interest of definition. So from research to insight, you have gathered data from people, have empathized with your users. So now what? What are you going to do with all? So in short, if I put it in a very short way, what we're going to do here is to first of all we're going to review the notes, the recording, the data gotten from the empathize stage. We're going to look for recurring behaviors, their pain points, their frustrations. We're going to extract patterns, gain insights, and find opportunities. So this is just the chain. This is the chain reaction or the flow from the data stage to extracting insights from the data. And we're going to talk about this more in depth in this class. So now, what is define? The define stage. I talked about this in our second class. So the define stage is the second step in the design thinking process. It moves us from empathy, from understanding our users to clarity, to actually making sense of the information we have got. So it bridges the empathy and the ideation stages. If you remember, like I said before, there are 5 stages in the design thinking process. The first is the empathize, the second is define, and the third is the ideation. Ideation is when you start brainstorming ideas or solutions to the problems your problem you're trying to solve. So they're saying here that the define stage it bridges the empathy and the ideation. So how do you go from hearing a problem from somebody, a solution for that person? That's what the define stage is for. So the goal here is to synthesize findings from user research. And what is the outcome? The outcome is a clear and actionable problem statement. From the whole thing you're going to do in the define stage, the whole process or the whole steps or the methodology you're going to use, the main outcome, what we need at the end of every define stage is your problem statement, a clear and actionable problem statement. This problem statement lets you actually take that forward to start ideating solutions to the problem you're trying to solve. So in the define step, define problems and their target users based on the data collected earlier in the empathize step. So this is just exactly what I've just said. It's step by step. You empathize, then now you're trying to define the problem. So why is the define stage important? Why do we need to define? If you have gotten data from the user, so why can't we just jump ahead to start looking for solutions? Why do we have to actually spend a lot more time to start defining this the data we have generated? So one is prevent solving the wrong problem. Like I've said before, when you empathize with users, when you talk to a lot of users, you're going to get a lot of feedback. You might identify 20 problems. maybe the budget that you have in the company we're working to. And if you do not try to define the problem at this stage, you might end up solving the wrong two out of the 20 you have found. So it prevents us solving the wrong problem. It clarifies users' needs and their pain points. It sets a focused direction for design, and it helps to align your team around the real issues. So one thing I want us to know here is that when in this whole design thinking process, most of the time you are working in a team, because by a company employs you, you're working with a team of other designers. It's not something that you do alone, though you can still do it alone as a lone designer or as a freelance designer or whatever designer. But most of the time you're working with people. You're working with people in a large enterprise or company or whoever hires you. So when you define something, let's imagine you're working with 5 designers on a project. If the problem has not been defined, and you guys just have a large pool of data, and you're getting resources from this large pool of data, it's very possible that the problem you're trying to solve might not be what that designer is trying to solve. So by the time we are able to define the problem, it helps align your team around the real issues that you're trying to solve. So in the define step, you will review points and issues that users are experiencing to come up with a clear statement. So now, if you look at this diagram beside this, you see there's this is it what would I call it? Um Interlinked circles. There's desirable, there's feasible, and there's viable. So this tells you that there are three core items when you're defining problems. Because like I said before, you will get more than one problem. You will get as many as a lot of problems. So most of the time when you are analyzing these problems, or when you're trying to decide which direction should your design be going for, you can analyze it and ask yourself, is this problem I'm trying to solve, is a solution to it, is it desirable? Is it what the community actually wants? Is it what a vast majority actually wants? That's why I talked about qualitative and quantitative data. Qualitative data is they're going to tell you how many people are actually suffering from that problem. So you have to ask yourself, is it desirable? Is a vast majority of my target audience suffering from this problem? Is it what they want? Or is there something else that they want? The second question you ask yourself is it feasible? Can we do it? Is it feasible? Because most of the times we might jump into looking for solutions to a problem when probably our bank account or the budgets allocated to that design process is not enough for it. Like in this tax I gave, a lot of people were talking about AI generated content, data using data analytics to solve. I'm asking, and this is an application you're trying to create that vast majority of people should be able to use it. It should be affordable, cost effective. But when you start putting things like AI generated or data analytics or those com- complex fields, it's is it still feasible? Is it still something that if you go ahead with it, people will be able to afford it, your target audience will be able to afford it. So that's why when you are looking for solutions to it, you have to think around these 3 points. Is it feasible? Is it desirable? Is it viable? Should you do it? Is it something that would benefit the company in the long run, or your design, whatever, in the long run? So now, like I said before, you are defining the main aim of the define stage is to get your statement. But when you're defining, we end up defining two things. First of all, we are defining the problem. So the define stage keeps us from designing based on assumptions. It lets us understand users' needs and frame a clear user-centered problem. There will be a lot of problems to address, but some might not be as critical as others. So whether you are in a digital space or you're in a space, designing the problem, defining a problem with insights sets us up to create valuable solutions. When we define, we prioritize and decide on what issue to focus on. Like I said here, create valuable, effective solutions. Valuable, our core, our main, like I said before, the main aim of the whole thing as UI designer is to create value, to answer problems, to give solutions to problems, basically. So when we're defining problems and we're getting insights and we are deciding that yes, I'm looking for a solution to this problem, I have to ensure that by defining the problem, okay, let me say it like this. Before we start solutions, we should ensure that we have defined the problem so that whatever solution that we are thinking of at this point would be valuable and effective. Because yes, there are lots of solutions to different problems, but when we are working with the wrong problem, whatever solution we are bringing up or we are ideating will not be valuable and will not be effective and will not give you the results you want. Basically. So after defining your problem, you also have to define your target user. So this is why I insisted that when creating that survey in your task, that you should try as much as possible to start from demographics. Get information on your users because it's important. This it's from this demo. It might not seem as important to you, but by the time you start analyzing the data, you find out that okay, a vast majority of my users or people are interested in these applications are in this age group or they are of this income range. Sometimes ask them how much they make. So you know it helps even in pricing. Let's say you want to create an application that at some point would have subscription plans. When you know your target audience, if they are students, you know where to start from and you know what resources to pull. So you also have to define your target users from the research data you have gotten at the empathize stage. That's the whole surveys and interviews and everything you have done at the empathy stage. So here you're trying to define your target users. So like this insight said, product targeted at young people in their 20s and those targeted at older adults in their 70s should be designed differently. So from your empathy stage or from your surveys or whatever interviews you have gotten, when you have tailored it or when you have found out that majority of people using my applications are people in their 20s, it helps you a lot in knowing what design routes or what story or what style, what theme you should be following. Yeah. So as a case study here, so this will be an interactive session. So I would just when I ask the question, you can either raise up your hand. If nobody raises up their hand, I'll just call. So now this is a case study. Suppose an e-commerce app is already in the market and your team already has its target users identified. You have interviewed straight and you got feedback on your application. So these are the different feedback. This is the results. You have conducted the empathy, you have conducted the interview, you have gotten data. This is the pool of data that I want us, everybody here. The first thing, your app only shows one product on the details page. I am not convinced because I cannot see the product from all angles. That's the first complaint. Second complaint, when I buy a product, I don't have options to drop reviews on the product. Third complaint, your app doesn't show how much it costs to deliver a product. The fourth one, your app does not show reviews from buyers, only ratings. So I don't know if it's okay to buy it. So now these are four complaints. These are four complaints from different users. And I would like to like put these questions out there. If you were to decide on one, depending from if you remember the three core things I showed you before, desirable, feasible, and viable, which of these four things would you as a designer try to do first? So sure. Look at the four problems we have analyzed here. Which of them? Okay, Desmond, you can unmute your mic.
So basically, everyone here is coming up from an angle of trust. They want to know what they're buying. They want to know if it's what they want. They don't want it to be a case of what I ordered versus what I got.
Okay.
So basically, I I feel the first thing to do is ensure that there's a way your products are specifically spelled out and there's different angles with proper lighting and proper variations. Then the next thing to do is give room to buyers or previous users to be able to drop their reviews and not just ratings. Because it is the review
Okay.
that I get from someone who has already used your product and or someone who has already gotten it that would enable me to want to try
I
it
can't
out.
hear
So
you, Desmond.
I said one should give room to
Hello?
review. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you, Desmond. I think she's having a bit of network lag.
Okay, should I wait for her?
Let's give her 2 minutes, but we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sorry, Desmond. Hold on a minute. Let me share my screen. Okay, Desmond, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Alright,
Can you hear me?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I can hear you now. Please go ahead. You from okay. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I said I would first off ensure that there's proper detailing of these products, not just one view. Everyone has to see different views of how the products look and have a figurative imagination of what it would look on them or how it would basically be in reality. Then when that is done,
Okay. No, no, hold on. I just want you to one, just one,
oh, okay,
just
okay.
one. Yeah, just one. So is that the one you are choosing to solve out
Yes,
of
that's
all
the
four of them? That's the first one. All right,
yes,
thank you.
that's the first one.
Okay. Hold on before I Joyce.
Yes, ma, I can hear you, ma.
All right. So which one are you choosing?
Okay, I'll choose desirable first because
Desirable. No,
yes,
no, no,
yes.
no. Before, no, no, that's not my question. My question is out of these four complaints here that you got from your user research, them, do you think it's feasible, is viable, and is desirable to solve? Which is the which is the first one that you would go for as a UI UX designer? And do you think as a UI designer you have the most autonomy to influence out of these
My,
four problems?
I didn't really get the question. Can you rephrase?
Just okay. This is a case study. This is a scenario.
Okay.
So and four problems we highlighted. First one is the details page. Second one is the reviews on the product. The first is the cost on how to deliver the, and the last one is the reviews only rate. So okay, okay. So which one? Do you understand the question now?
The with the reviews on the product first
Reviews.
because it's the yes, because that is what will help me to know where the problem lies, what is really the issue with the app, to know where I can include more details or improve.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Can mute your mic.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Grace Store, let's hear from you. Grace Store, can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
Good
So,
evening. Sorry, before you continue, please change. I don't know if this is if your name is Store, but change your name to your first and your last name, please.
can I do that like some other time?
Yes, do it later before the
That's
next class.
okay.
Yeah.
I
All right,
will. I
let me
will.
hear from you.
All right. So I feel the reviews, the section
Reviews.
where
Why?
the reviews, because I mean it's a product you want to purchase and you want to have an idea if you would purchase it or not. And the reviews can help tailor your decision making about that product before
Mm,
moving on to logistics and angles of the product. So
okay. All
that's
right.
right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
My sunshine. Sunshine. Let's hear from you.
Okay. He answered same thing with me. I feel it's the reviews because if you give new customers reviews of like what old customers say, like maybe
Mm,
they like the product or something. If they don't see any reviews, even though the photos are complete, like they see shirts of all photos, they might still have that trust issues like nobody has bought or I'm not seeing any reviews or maybe they don't want people to say the truth and all that. I don't know if I'm
mm.
right.
Yeah, understand. Understand. Thank you. Thank you. So these are all amazing feedback. Yes, reviews are very, very important. But let's say you are the designer. You design the options for review. It has been implemented. But let's say the timeline it takes for the reviews, like you have put the options available for review. You are now able to drop reviews on the product. And so now for let's say, okay, assuming it takes 3 months 3 months for buy that product, different people to buy that product, and for review to accumulate enough reviews that makes that product authentic. Okay, sorry. So let's say it takes 3 months. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes, we
right.
can hear
So
you.
let's say it takes 3 months for a particular product. So it's an e-commerce application. It has a lot of products, thousands of products. So let's say in 3 months time, some products has gotten 4 reviews, 10 reviews. So it's taken 3 months to see a change, or for this problem to actually Sunshine mentioned trust, to build trust. But for it to be, if you see 2 reviews on a product, it doesn't give you that much trust. You need to see like 10, 5, 10, 20. So it will probably take a long time for you to build that trust using via reviews. But let's use what Desmond said. He talked about showing more than one product on the product details page. So this one is instant. It's immediately. Once you take the decision, okay, these are 4 problems, but which one is the most feasible at this point? Which one would cost the least and would still give you a lot of results immediately? You start to show 5 pictures of the product. You give more details on the product. They see it from different views. They see the live picture. They see the edited one. So are you saying that this first answering deciding to choose the first one would be more viable, would be more feasible for you? So now, like I said before, there are many problems here, but you need to prioritize one and work for it. In that sense, I would rather we go with Desmond's idea, because if you're going to analyze this different, analyzing it by two different, first of all, how much does it cost to develop a solution for the problem? What are the resources available? How many time? What's the length of time available to you to see a change? How much can you help users by solving a problem? What is the impact? So you have to compare and contrast resources From these four things, now which one will give you the most instantaneous impact? The first one, and which is easy, and it's as easy as just tweaking the design and adding more space for more pictures. It's as easy as that. Rather than adding options for this, the other problems are important, yes, but in design we have something like a scale of preference. Scale of preference. It's a high that we have to follow. So at this point in time, between these four problems, the first one that can easily be done is the is as easy as adding more photos on the product detail page. So I don't know if that makes sense or how we came to that conclusion. I don't know if it makes sense. I'm not saying that the review is not important. I'm not saying that review is not important, but by the time we're analyzing different problems and we are tight on or we're trying to prioritize one and work on it. That's why even having a goal in mind also helps when defining your. That's why I said before at the empathize stage, before you actually start your research, define your goals so you know what you're looking for. If the company has come to you and they complain that people are not buying as much, they have a cat issue, the cat abandonment rate is high. From that insight, what you would find here is that the possible problem is probably the your app doesn't show how much it costs to deliver a product. So this is the one that is most likely to deter people from buying something like the application because people don't like things that are unclear. So I don't know if we are following. Yeah, you can understand better now. Thank you. So now let's go to the next phase. So now how do we define? We've talked about definition, talking about finding our problem statement, finding our target user. But how do we get there? What about the importance? How do we get there? How do we like I said, we all everybody here, if you have done your tax, you probably got a lot of information from your research. A lot of you went to AI and prompted it and gave me insights. Well, how do we do it? Because the difference between us and AI is our human touch. That's the reason why when people are scared that AI might take our jobs, they don't want letting AI take your jobs because you got a simple tax as that, and everybody runs to AI to do it. So this is steps to do it by yourself. How do you actually define? So the key methods we're going to talk about today are empathy maps and affinity maps. So these are the methods used in synthesis. That's the process of making sense of collected research. So the first one first, we're going to talk about an empathy map. An empathy map. We're already familiar with the term empathy. This was what I talked most about last when empathize step. An empathy map is a method of defining. It's not a method of it, no, it's no longer an empathize. So an empathy map is a collaborative tool used to visualize what we know about a user. It helps uncover deeper user understanding by answering what do they say, what do they think, what do they do, what do they feel. See here, we're trying to uncover deeper user understanding, not just by relying on what they have said. Because most times in user interviews or surveys or whatever research method we are using, we are getting feedback from them. That is what they say. But in an empathy map, we are moving past what they are saying. We're thinking about what are they thinking, what are they feeling, what are they doing to get a deeper user understanding. Because sometimes we do not say what we think. We might feel a certain way, but we might not say it out loud because we do not want to annoy the next person or displease the next person. So it's now our work as UI designers to move past what they are saying and think about what they are thinking, what they are feeling, what are they doing, or how are you observing that they are doing? What do they say they are doing? By the time we categorize all these things, we get a more holistic sense of everything about our users or everything our users are doing and be able to serve them if I can use that term. So the anatomy of an empathy map, the first quadrant is the says quadrant. It simply contains what the user says out loud in an interview. Example, I am loyal to Kuda because I've never had a bad experience. I want something reliable. I don't understand what to do from here. So this is the easiest quadrant to fill because it's as simple as what they are saying. You do not have to think about what they might mean or the background information or whatever context. You just want to know what they are saying, what is being said about a particular study or problem. The second one is think. This thing is one that is a bit complex because we are not in our user's head. So how do we know what they are thinking? So the think quadrant captures what the user is thinking throughout the experience. You're supposed to ask yourself here, what inspires the users? What matters to the users? It is possible to have the same content in says and things, show attention to what users think, but may not be willing to vocalize. Try to understand why they are reluctant to share. Are they unsure, self-conscious, polite, or afraid to tell others something? So this is really annoying. If you're asking someone to test your application in front of you, they might not say it's really annoying, but there's probably a their body posture or their whatever gesture they're making with their body that might give you an idea, or probably the way they or the difficulty they have with using your application. That can They might even say something in similar, but they will not really say this is really annoying. So it gives you an idea of what they think. So it means that when we are interviewing our users, we should look at what they are saying. So another question is, am I dumb for not understanding? Sometimes when most of the time when we use applications and it's difficult to understand, let's say Discord now that everybody here had a lot of issues with navigating. Your first time using Discord and you are seeing others using it well, you'll be thinking, am I dumb? Why is this application so difficult to use? And is the problem me or is the problem the application? So by the time you see people um having difficulties using something and the way they respond to that difficulty, you have an idea of what are they thinking about this. Like from here in this picture, there are questions like, why is this so hard? They think I'm stupid. What is best for me? I want something awesome. What else am I missing? Is it wasting too much time? Sometimes when you're looking at them, probably using your user study, you're just observing them using your application. Then maybe there's a loading something, and it's just loading and loading and loading, and they're just there looking. They might not see anything, but at some time they might get itchy. It's You just have an idea that they feel they do not like that it's taking as much time. This is actually something you can also feel in few quadrants. We're going to still get there. First quadrant contains the actions the user takes. So from the research, what does the user physically do? How does the user go about doing it? Because sometimes we usually think most of the times as designers, we think people design stuffs how we use them, but that's most of the time. Because sometimes there are some things that seem very obvious to me, but people have issues doing them. And I'll be wondering like, what's wrong? What's wrong? So in this DOS quadrant, we are looking at the actions a specific user takes. What are they physically doing? How are they using that application? So some things, examples here is refreshes the several times, hops around to compare. Like I don't know if you remember the example I gave where I talked about having the sign up and the sign and the login at the top right section of your website. So most of the time we assume that users will just go there immediately. But there's some people that will scroll up. They'll scroll down, they'll go down, 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 down to where the sign up and sign up button is at the bottom where they actually click on it. So every user has different actions that they would likely take. So this DOS quadrant contains those actions that they are taking. Now the next one is the feels. The feels quadrant is the user's emotional state. Most times we use an adjective here. You're not talking about you're not concerned with what they are saying or what they are thinking, just an adjective to describe what they are feeling at that moment. They could be overwhelmed. They could be excited to use your product. They could be scared. They could feel anxious. Could feel inadequate. Like sometimes, if I ask someone to share their screen and show me what they did somewhere, they might feel you might not be surprised that they are scared to show me what they did. That's because they're anxious or they feel inadequate. That they did something wrong, so they don't want people to don't want you to see them like see them doing that thing basically. So it's our job here to also categorize what the user is feeling. Are they feeling impatient? Why? Because they load too slowly. Confused. Why? Because of too many contradictory prices. Worried. Are they feeling worried because are they doing something wrong? Sometimes you enter an applications like most of us our first task was to analyze the UX of a application. Some applications that I saw that were very cluttered and very messy. Sometimes when you come to the application and you want to do something really important in it, but you have to do a lot of things and nothing is going as well as you. So you get worried at some point. Like, are you doing something wrong? Or let's say it's a bank application, something that's important to us as a bank application, you're trying to send money. Now you have sent the money, but you didn't get feedback that the money was sent. So you know you sent the money, but at some point you start doubting yourself, like, did I do something wrong? Did I send a wrong amount? Did I send to the wrong account? So you keep refreshing the so these are two feelings already. You are anxious, you are worried, you are confused. So this is the feels quadrant. So in the end, you have a collective quadrant of the says, the thinks, the does, and the feels. So says contains direct quotes from users, things, what users believe or worry about. Do, actions observed, actions or behaviors observed, and the feel, which is the emotional state or their attitude. So now, how to create an empathy map. This is a very simple step. Just analyze the data you have gotten, categorize it. Are they saying this? What do you think they are thinking? What are they doing? What are they feeling? It's as easy as that. But if you want a step by step process, one, define your scope and your goals. First thing first, define your scope and your goals. I don't know why the tasks we were doing, like define the problem. Like the second task I gave, identify a problem you want to solve. What is the problem that you have identified, and what is the solution that you're suggesting? What's the solution that you're bringing up for this particular problem? So define your scope, decide who your user is and what tasks they are accomplishing. So to gather the material you're going to use to make the actual empathy. And make the empathy map with sticky notes. You can make it with a digital tool. You can make it with Google Docs. Just simply you can make it a table with 4 columns. Say, thinks, does, feels. If you want to make it fancy, you can use sticky paper, those colored ones. That's notes. Then for the says quadrant, might have a different color, things quadrant different color, does quadrant different color. That's for the second one. Then the third one is collect research. This collect research is your empathy, the empathizing. So empathy map is a qualitative approach. If you remember, it's a qualitative approach. So you can use qualitative methods like direct interviews, observations, or something like a diary studies. Survey. A survey might not give you. First of all, if you're asking if it's a survey, you will not see what the user is doing. Not give you enough information to create an empathy map. You would most likely need a qualitative method. I told you before that survey is more of a quantitative method. So then step 4, generate sticky notes for each quadrant and fill them. Then 5, converge all of those post-it notes and start to cluster similar ideas together with your team. So usually if you are in an industrial setting, you're working for a company, you would let's say you have 3 designers in your team 2 designers in your team and you guys are working on you are working with the same set of data gotten from scratch. So usually what they would do here is each designer would create their own empathy map. They would put in what they think for says, what they think for things, what they think for does, what they think for feels. Then when you are done with yours, you converge, the 3 of you converge and compare and contrast. what can I improve in your empathy map? What can we improve? Then create a bigger empathy map, because it's usually good. Head to heads are better than one. It's usually good to verify scenario of what you would meet if you eventually venture to work for a company. Some people would usually prefer to work alone. So whatever method you choose. So now another case study. Usually like explaining things with scenarios so that we understand it better and it's more interactive, not just giving you theoretical concepts that you understand by theory, but you might not know how to practice it. So now in this scenario that we're going to look at now, we are designing a budgeting application aimed at young professionals ages 23 to 30 who are early in their careers and want to track their expenses, save money, and improve financial habits. So you conduct an interview with people in this age group and gain the following data. So this is the data you have gotten. I try to manage my finances with spreadsheets, but it gets overwhelming after a while. Sometimes I forget what I spent money on during the week until I check my bank app. I've tried budgeting applications, but they often feel too complicated or not for someone like me. I want to be able to track small expenses out, right, without having to log in every time. Saving is hard. I don't always have a fixed amount to save each month. So this is just the different feedback you have gotten from users. And now you want to create an empathy map with this information, with this transcript, with this data, such data you have gotten. So this will be interactive. So if you're, let's start with the says quadrant is verbatim. These are all the things they have said. So there's no need for us to stress about filling the safe quadrant. So let's try things. So just put up your hand if you want to answer. Raise your hand if you want to answer. I'm trying to fill in the thinks quadrant. From this research data, what do you think would be in thinks? What are the users thinking? Okay, please take the question again. Okay, so this is the interview transcript. This is the data we have gotten from our research. And we are trying to create an empathy map from this data, like all these things they have said here. Yes, yes, yes. I saw a lot of people on this budgeting application. So yes, I'm aware, Daisy. So so now let's create an empathy map with this information. So now we left out says because says is usually what they said verb, and we're already seeing what they said verb. That's easy to view. So now I want to start with thinks. I don't want Desmond to answer again. Thinks. Thinks. What would you put at the thinks quadrant? So someone else should answer, please. Anointed, is your background still not? Are you still eating? I don't get the question. You are breaking. Am I actually breaking, or you are the only one that thinks I'm breaking? Daniel, you want to try? Third one. Think quadrant. Are they think? It's like what are the users thinking from this insight, from this things they are saying? What do you think they are thinking? Okay, Daniel, you're in a really noisy place. Fine.
I want to
Are they
try.
okay? AJ, let me hear from you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so from this research, I want to believe that users are interested in the budgeting app, but from the feedback we've gotten from them, they would rather want a more simplified application that makes
Exactly.
simplified and user-friendly app that is
Okay.
I mean, how am I going to put it, simplified for everyone to use.
Exactly.
I feel like from this
Mm.
research, um most of the budgeting apps that they've come across is usually complex. So making it user friendly would, bring about, I don't know how I'm going to put it, but that's just what
Yes,
that
yes,
was what
yes.
came to my mind from this.
Yeah, you're on point already. Thank you so much for that. Yes, that's part of what I would in think squadrons. They did not specifically say that they want something simple. But from their complaints, it's overwhelming, it's too complicated. You probably they'll be thinking something like something simple would have been better to use. Something they'll be thinking this is unnecessary. That's what they'll be thinking. Kwazim, please mute your mic. All right, Ade, okay, let me hear from you. Overwhelmed by spreadsheet. Overwhelmed by spreadsheet. This is the feels. Yeah, you have already jumped to feels. Overwhelm is a feeling. So we're thinking about what are they thinking. Ademoye, let's hear from you.
Yeah, good day. Can you hear me?
Good day. Good day.
Yeah, I think the think aspect or the think quadrant part is the one with I have tried budgeting apps, but they often feel too complicated or not built for me.
Mm, No, 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 no. I'm not telling you guys. I'm not telling you to categorize this sentence into different quadrants. That's not what I'm asking. I'm telling you that this is the data you've gotten from your research. This is data you have gotten think they are thinking. So Patrick said, after a stressful day, I don't think I have the time to think out. Yes, Patrick, I agree with you. They're probably thinking something like this, that it's not worth their stress. Will probably rather use pen and paper if they come to a digital application and it's just this annoying and complex. Divine, let's hear from you.
Yeah, okay. I think what they are thinking is managing money shouldn't be this complicated. You get maybe something simpler than spreadsheet,
Okay,
maybe another easier way, a much better.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. All right,
yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Adaise, let's hear from you.
Ma, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, ma, I think it's the last one. That saving is hard. I don't always have a fixed amount to save each month. Like, that's what you're thinking.
Mm, okay, that's fair. That's not that was not the question, though.
Oh, okay.
Alright. Okay, so Jacinta said they are thinking that it can be created without logging all the time. Why not make it simple without logging? Did they mention anything like login here? I cannot see any data mentioning login. Okay, without having to, okay, I want to be able to access my website without having to log in every time. Yes, Jacinta, yes, I like that. I like that. Yes, you're on point. It should be they should create an application where you probably have to where you can use without logging in every time. Maybe your details are is saved. So when you just come in there, it recognizes you immediately. So yeah, I like that, Jacinta. Thank you. So Patrick he says they are thinking accounting has never been my strong suit. I like the way Patrick is entering. It's actually entering their head. It's saying it from their perspective. So thank you so much. Faith, let's hear from you.
Right, good evening, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Hey, Faith, your voice is cracking. I can hear
Hello,
you.
ma'am. Can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. I feel.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Faith, I think your network is bad. Faith, I think your network is bad. If you can if you can type it in the chat section, that would be fine. Okay. So now let's leave the fuels quadrant and think. Let's go to do. What are the users doing? Okay, Daniel said they feel the app has very has many features that of no use to them. Daniel's like you are in their feelings. I like it. Yeah, you're just talking about few. Okay, so Desmond, if you are still there with us, please help us with what are the users doing from what they have said here. What do you think they have been doing before, even before you okay.
Hello there.
Listen.
So if I understand your question, you want to know what they have been doing on the app,
What
right?
should I in the blue quadrant? Yes, yes.
Okay, so basically, they want to save.
Okay.
And what this DOS quadrant contains is what the actions the user takes on the app. What they want to do is
Yeah.
save, or
Okay.
rather track their
Mm,
budget and manage their finances.
okay.
Most of them find
Yes.
it tacky and overbearing. So they're just trying to find their way around the app till they get their hands on what they want.
Mm,
So basically what they're doing is
yes, but
just
you're giving
skimming
me
through. Can you hear
yeah,
me?
but hold on, Desmond. Yeah, I can hear you. You're giving me a more holistic answer. It's more general answer. I want to just know what are they doing? Like read the sentences
They're
here.
tracking their
Just
expenses.
look at it. Okay. Like are there any what have they been tracking their expenses with?
A spreadsheet
Okay, that's one of the things they are doing. They have been managing their finances in spreadsheet. So that's something that you put in the two quadrants. I seen the full flow how we got here.
Yes.
Okay, so another thing, what do you see that they are doing?
The well, from what
You
I
said
I
you said
think,
one
oh
before.
yes, I said they're tracking their
Okay,
expenses. Then secondly,
exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
they want to be able to use the app without having to check their bank account to know where basically it's tracking expenses and budgeting
Okay.
money that has gone into and out of the account. And also they want to save,
Okay. Yes. They want to save. They want to track their
track
money. They want
expenses.
to exactly want to track expenses. They are currently using spreadsheets. So these are things that they are doing currently. Thank you so much. Divine,
Yeah,
Divine.
yeah, I'm with you.
Let
I'm
me
with
hear
you.
from you.
Yeah, so they've been trying out budgeting apps, but
Okay.
they've been abandoning them due to their complexity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've been abandoning them. That's another thing they're doing. Continue.
And the aspect of their finances, I think
Okay.
they've been trying with spreadsheets, but due to the complexity, so
Okay. Yeah.
just
That's
abandon it after a while.
okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you. Adepunke, let me hear from you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
So, just like I said in the comment section, I still feel like everything comes down to money management.
Okay.
There are people that don't know how to manage money. Just like somebody here that said, I want to be able to track small expenses like snacks or Uber rides without having to log in every time. Removing the
Okay.
logging in every time, he or she wants to know how he spends her money, because I'm taking money from my mobile app, obviously, and
Okay.
I'm spending it on snacks and Uber. So without logging in, I want to know how much I've spent in that day. So I'll be able
Mhm.
to know that, okay, today I've spent 5,000 naira. I'm not meant to spend up to that. So those apps should be able to track down expenses for, maybe for that. You set maybe, okay, for
Mhm.
today, I'm going to spend 5,000 naira. So if you are exceeding that 5,000 naira, it might give you like a warning, or probably like an insight
Yeah.
of Adefunke, this is how much you spent for today. Do you want to, I don't want to say block, or do you want to
Yeah,
cut
I
down?
understand.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it just comes to money management. Some people can manage money well. So these
Mm-hmm.
apps now is supposed to be designed to manage money for them, their finances, to be able to take
Okay.
care of it. Yeah, so that's what I just feel like.
Okay, I understand. But you jumped, though. You jumped and left us. You
Ma?
jumped and left us. I said you jumped and left us. We are still at empathy map, but you have gone to start thinking of solutions. You have started ideating solutions to the problem.
Mm,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
yeah.
All right. So the last quadrant in the empathy map, that's what feels. Feels. So I just want adjectives answers. Adjectives like a feeling. So what are the feelings that you can garner from this text or this data that we have analyzed, we have gotten from our research? Exhausted, exactly. Frustrated. What else? I need more. Just exhausted and overwhelmed. Thank you, Jacinta. Overwhelmed. It's even here verbatim. It gets overwhelming. Thank you, Daisy. Overwhelmed. Difficult. They feel difficult, or they feel the applications is difficult. They are their last resort. As hopeless. They feel hopeless. They feel complex at AJ. I don't want feeling complex, or the application is complex. Forgetful and disorganized. Thank you, Abigail. Yeah, so let's see the one I created. Yes, so this is my empathy map. So says that's exactly what they said here. I try to manage my finances with spreadsheets. Projecting apps feels too complicated. I forget what I spent on the week. Feels overwhelmed, frustrated by complexity, guilty about not saving enough, anxious about financial future. Then they think there has to be a way to manage my money. Exactly, this is what you all said. They want something simpler. I don't have time for exactly the person who said it. He said they're abandoning the tools because it's too complex for them. They're thinking tracking money shouldn't feel like work. Yes. What are they doing? They use spreadsheet occasionally. Yes. They check bank app for transactions. Yes. They have tried budgeting applications, but they stop using them. These are all everybody. I think we mentioned everything here. So this is the empathy map now that you know that this is what your users are saying, what they're thinking, what they are feeling, what they are doing on one page. It's just on one page. It's there for you to analyze in any way you want. So now when you're building an application and you have this right beside you, you're able to now point things you can actually do. They use spreadsheets occasionally. If they use spreadsheets occasionally, that means they are familiar with the interfaces of spreadsheets. So probably in any application I'm building, I should get some inspiration from Google spreadsheets, but but in a simpler way. So someone said, I don't have time for complex tools. So you probably check what tools are they using, tools are they calling complex, and how can you make it easier for them. So this is just the whole empathy map, and I hope we all got how we got here. So now the next one, I told you there are two key methods I will be talking about in this class. The first one is the empathy map, which you have gone through. The second one is the affinity map. Okay, sorry. Conclusion. Empathy map helps us build empathy with our end users. They remove bias from our designs. They discover weaknesses in our research. They uncover user needs that the user themselves they may not even be aware of. You understand what drives users' behaviors. Now, this what drives their behaviors. You're now talking about more than what they are saying, but what they are because it's probably what they are thinking that is driving what they are doing or what they are saying. So it also guides us towards meaningful innovation. By the time we understand that our users are feeling frustrated, they are feeling anxious, they are feeling that this is too complex, it makes us understand why it's exactly what they said. They understand what drives users behaviors. Understand makes us understand why they are leaving this application, why they are deleting it, so why they are not subscribing to your premium plans. Like what exactly is happening. So that's the whole idea of the empathy map and what it helps us do. Now the next one is the affinity diagram or the affinity map. So affinity diagram is it's quite simple. It's a very simple concept. So it's a clustering method for organizing user data. It's a key part of defining user problems, which seeks to reveal recurring themes across interviews. So now the goal of this affinity map is to make sure that when a particular problem that you are solving is a problem that is being experienced by many, or a particular theme or whatever direction you're trying to take in whatever problem, it's a it's something that is recurring, something that it's like amongst let's say you have conducted different interviews at different times, maybe even in different years. You conducted one 2024, 2025, 2022. By the time you analyze those three interviews and you create an affinity diagram out of it, you would now see some themes, like something that keep and see that instead I want something keeps repeating, it means that it's of higher importance because the chance that it's going to repeat again it's higher. When you now see that something is keeps reoccurring, so that, like I said here, it reveals recurring themes across interviews. So once you see that something is recurring or is reoccurring, shows that something that you have to look into. It might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing. If it's a bad thing, something like something it means that something cool. If it's a good thing, it means that something you should be encouraging. So it helps us, it gives us user feedback, ideas or insights, helps you identify patterns, themes, and connections within data, leading to a deeper understanding of the user experience or the design challenge. Now, how do we create an affinity diagram? So it's a very simple process. You when you get your your research data or whatever answers you have gotten to your questions that you asked. So when you just look at the data, what can you what is which is what? Like what do you think is what can you cluster together? In affinity diagram, just think about affinity. What does affinity mean? Two things that are similar, two things that are connected, that like each other. That's the whole sense of affinity. So what would you cluster with what? It's like saying it's like how we have different parts of speech. So they are the same words, the same English, it's the same text and alphabets, but you call some nouns, you call some verbs, you call some adjectives. So what are the key factors? What brings those things together? What's the affinity between them? That's what we do in affinity diagrams here. We get a lot of data and we find similar items, we group them together and we give them a kind of a label. So here we're going to first of all we're going to the key notes, the key observations or key quotes on sticky notes. Then we'll group similar items into clusters. We'll label the clusters with themes like frustration, confusion. Then we'll discuss emerging patterns that you find. Look for repetition and emotional cues. Turn grouped data into few key insights and ask yourself, why does this matter to the user? Like in this place, you're going to see here, like this is different quotes or observations and what's one label, different quotes and observations and one label. So it's so by the time you have categorized these things into different, like you look at the label one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. You now have eight themes or eight focus that you should have. So it categorizes the data and these eight things are things that you might remember easier. Like you might remember it easier. Like how we did the whole empathy map. So now you might not remember the exact things the user said or the exact conversation you had with them. But you will remember things like frustration, confusion, and anxiety. I don't know if it's making sense. So now, like the previous case study we did before. So now we are going to create an affinity map from the exact same example we used before. Now, what I want us to do here is like to read this. We have already read it. We're already familiar with this interview transcript. Now, what themes can we find here? What themes? I think we have probably mentioned it when we were talking about empathy map. But I still want us to think about it and to give me answers. What themes can we I don't recognize it. The teams doesn't just have feelings. I know frustration is here. I know um, com- feeling complex or anxiety, anxious is here. But I want other teams, like what teams, like is in this research data. So let's see. Let's see. I'm waiting for who's going to raise up their hand. Abandonment. I don't want emotions. Emotions, yes, doubts. Okay. What I want now is if you're giving me a team, if you're giving me a team, I want you to mention what falls under the team. Like mention which of them falls under that team or that label you're giving. Stressful. Um Oreoluwa. Oreoluwa Okafor. Wow. Igbo and Yoruba at the same time. Unmute your mic. Hear from you. Stressful.
I didn't get your question again, Mel.
You didn't get my question, but you were typing in the chat section.
No,
So I'm
when you
asking
were
when I was
sorry, please come again. You were saying something, sorry.
okay, so I want to create an empathy map, sorry, an affinity map from this interview transcript, from this data we have gotten from our research. So you mentioned stressful in the comment section as your team or as your
Yes,
label. So
yes.
I want you to identify which of these sentences falls under stressful.
Like the first sentence where it says, I try to manage my finance with spreadsheets, but it gets overwhelming after a while.
Okay, any other one?
Mm, I think that's the only one I'm seeing here.
No, it's not possible. Remember, when we are doing affinities, we are trying to link, like, trying to give link different information together. So you can't just tell me only one is stressful. That's not an affinity map. So there has to be babies under one mother. So if forgetfulness, stressful is your mother, I want to see the baby. If that makes sense. I want to see the things under it. So you can't just tell me
Okay.
it's just one.
Okay. After the first one, I think I want to be able to track my expenses like snacks, Uber ride without having a login every time. With the complex login,
Is it stressful?
yes, it's stressed with the logging in aspect of it.
Mm. Easy tracking of expenses. All right, thank you so much. Oluwaseun, please unmute your mic. Oluwaseun, can you hear me? Olushola, unmute your mic.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm trying to see from the angle of this board theme. I've tried budgeting apps, but they often feel too complicated. So I'd say maybe the ambiguity of some words or some terms, or maybe some logos or icons they use do not present any model in the minds of the users. That's why they
User.
are feeling like
Mm,
the budgeting apps might be too complicated for them. Maybe the terms were not clear enough, or the
okay.
icons that
Yeah,
were
I
used
agree.
were not
I
clear
agree.
enough for
I
them.
agree. Especially that terminology. Terminology really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see what's where. Hold on. Let me see what's what you are saying in the chat section. Okay. Olushola, that's you. You said theme three, ambiguity of some words in budgeting application. Desmond said doubt, not being able to save at the end of the month due to uncertainty in the saving amount. Oluwaseun said easy tracking of expenses. Yeah, I like That's easy tracking of expenses. Yeah, it's a recurrent theme here. Like it's something that the first sentence it's linked to that easy tracking of expenses. The third one, tracking of expenses. The fourth one, easy tracking of expenses. So Faith said forgetfulness. Sometimes I forget what I spent money on. So by forgetfulness, by the time you link forgetfulness to this, and if you create a team on forgetfulness, I feel like where they should take you, or where your mind should be going to at this point when we're talking about probably okay, maybe there should be a reminder, like there should be an option in the application you're going to build, a reminder for your users to track their expenses. Maybe every evening by 8 p.m. It's an alarm for them. So these are just insights. This was just I just saw forgetfulness and I thought about it. So but by the time we create a thematic diagram or an affinity map of the research data, you can see that solutions are already coming out of nowhere. Yeah. Solutions are already coming out of like once you're able to categorize these things in the way they are supposed to be, then we have a broader idea or a broader knowledge of problem we are trying to solve. Yeah, so these are the insights from the interview: struggles to stay consistent with budgeting, finds pressure, forget money daily expenses, feels apps are too complicated, wants simple effortless tracking, doesn't save the fixed amount monthly, feels guilty, tries multiple tools but gives up, doesn't have time for data entry, wants awareness of spending patterns. So now for the activity map now. Now first group tracking struggles. That's why I liked what Oluwaseun said, but he was a noisy background and he could not. But we see things like forgetting small daily expenses. So this is forgetfulness, but it's also a part of tracking struggles. So the tracking struggles can be with the application, can also be with yourself by not having time, by wanting a simple application and there being a lot of complication. By you, there is a struggle with tracking. This is the need that we are trying to solution for or to provide an answer to. So another group has two frustration. They are finding the document frustrating to use or overwhelming. Then this is about people. This is where you talk about the feel quadrant. Some people are feeling guilty about having it. They're anxious about financial vision. Yes, I think Daniel, someone commented anxious. So some people they struggle to stay consistent with budgeting. These are the emotional challenge. We now have saving behaviors. They don't save a fixed amount monthly. I think this was what Desmond was trying to say. And they want better awareness of spending patterns. Now, for these saving behaviors now, they could be like so you're not just providing budgeting and tracking, also providing education on how to actually track your money or how to actually spend well. So training to empathy maps, affinity maps. So how do we get problem statements? Like I said before, the goal of the define stage is to end up with a problem statement at the end. There are still other methods of definition. Throughout this period, we're just going to talk about different methods of defining. We have gone through empathy and affinity maps. But now we're talking about problem statement. How do we go from insights? Like your tasks that I gave, I asked you guys to get me three key insights from the research that you have done. I got the insights, but not a lot of people gave me problem statements, which I was not respecting. the Okay, I believe I stopped here. Is this where I stopped, please? Let me know. Okay, thank you, Adefunke. All right, so let's continue. Like I was saying, how do we go from insights to problem statement? There's a formula that it's easy to use. It's just simple. User need what need do they need? Because what insights? Like what was the insight? What was the problem? So this is basically target user plus solution plus problem. So insights identified from the research. That's your insights. Like what did you gain from the research that you did? That's your insights. Your need now is the problem that you're going to give them to target that insight. So for like the example I stated here, young professionals, your target audience, need a simple and intuitive way. Okay, sorry, Orelua. Hear me now. Can you hear me now? All right, thank you. Okay, so for if I said young professional audience needs a simple and intuitive way to track daily spending and savings. So this is the proposed solution, simple and intuitive to do what? To track daily spendings and savings. Why? Because they often feel overwhelmed and frustrated by complex tools and inconsistent tracking habits. So that's just the formula. User needs need because insights. This is the formula that would help phrase our problem statement when we are going from insight to problem statement. So if we can just go back to our task and see the insights that we submitted, the three key insights we found, and try to get a problem statement for this. Okay, let's not say that I should explain the formula again. It's just simply user. That's just think of it this way: your target user plus your solution plus your problem. So if you're going back to front, that's insight. Insight is the the insight you got from the data you have analyzed. That's what you have defined. Like, you have defined. That's what insight is generated from. In this example, they feel overwhelmed and frustrated by complex tools and inconsistent tracking habits. So this is the problem that you have identified. That's the insight. Then what do they need? Users need a simple and intuitive way to track daily spending. This is the solution, or this is the maybe not the solution per se, but this is the answer. This is what you think would tackle the insights or the problem that you have defined. This is what they need. Then what are the users? Users are the target audience that you identified with the very, 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 very beginning. I don't know if that's clear. So if you go again, we are saying young professionals need a simple and intuitive way to track daily spending and savings as the solution. Why? Because you remember I also said that research gives us the answer. The research usually answers the question why. especially qualitative research. It answers the questions why. So, why do they need simple, intuitive way to track spending and savings? Because they feel overwhelmed and frustrated by complex tools and inconsistent tracking habits. So now this is a problem statement. This is the problem statement to the whole the case study we have used in today's class. The whole empathy map, the whole affinity map. We have been able to just shorten the whole research and create a problem statement that clearly and precisely the whole problem and the need that's the solution that we're suggesting for it basically. Now that's how you go from insight to problem statement. So this is the formula that you can use. So now lastly, let's as a case study on how to go from insights to problem statement. So I used an example here, a coffee shop. This is not a digital example, just a coffee shop. So now you're designing for a coffee shop, local coffee shop, and you're gathering feedback. And you discover that people like the coffee, but they feel uncomfortable with the noise and limited seating. So for your first step, now you have to organize your insights. So this is going over the whole steps, the whole definition steps. Step one, you organize your insights. From the empathy interview, you gather insight like, I love the coffee, but it's hard to concentrate because of the noise and this and probably the limited seating. It feels crowded here, especially during rush hours. Three, there aren't enough seats for customers to stay and relax. That's the insight that you have gotten. So step two, identify themes. So this is where empathy maps come in. If you want to go the empathy map route, so now you have noticed a pattern. Many consumers or many customers feel uncomfortable due to noise and limited seating. They like the coffee, but the noise and the lack of seats makes them uncomfortable or has reduced them returning back to your coffee shop. So step three, formulate the problem statement. So now, who is the user? The user is your customers. What's the problem? What's the what step one? That's in they need a more comfortable and quiet environment in the coffee shop. Why? Why do they need that? Because they want a place where they can walk and socialize without feeling crowded. So this is a three-step process. First of all, you organize your insights. Can the coffee shop problem be solved by an app? Yes, it can. I think it should. It should. So it depends. If it's limited sitting, you can create a queuing application or a real time queue application where they can see if it's available. They can book a place before time. Maybe before they leave their phone and they check if there's any vacancy and they can book it in time in advance. So that's a way you can actually solve this. So this is not a digital problem we're trying to solve. Our main focus here is something like yes. Thank you, Daniel. So main focus here is the noise and limited seating. So they need a more comfortable and quiet environment in the coffee shop where they can work and socialize. So now this statement makes it clear that any design solution should focus on creating a comfortable preservations here on creating a comfortable and relaxed environment. So that was the whole step from going from the insight to the problem statement. So step four, which is an additional step that we don't always look at, is to reflect on impact. Like I said before, when you are deciding on a problem to solve, you should compare and contrast impact and resources. So what resources, like they said limited seating, do you have the money to for more chairs for more chairs or to increase the seating? Is the place even bigger for more seating? Or do you want to create probably an outdoor coffee shop to just you can also try to buy the neighboring shop beside you and make it like a and adjoin the spaces basically. So reflect on impact and the resources that you have. What about the noise problem? You can think of different ways to go about that. You can probably there could be a sanction. You let your customers know that from this hours to this hours, no noise. Part the walls. Also, that's also money and resources, Desmond. So just as in reflect on impact, we have decided we want to solve the noise and the sitting problem. So which one do we have the money for? This is where you talk back to your stakeholders, you discuss with them, and you now know the routes. So move to a more quiet environment. Are you going to give them the money for rent? But yes, it's also something. It's also a solution to the problem. Yeah. So now, let's reflect on impact. A quieter, more comfortable space would attract more customers who wish to stay longer, potentially increasing sales and loyalty. So now, with this defined problem, you might brainstorm ways to improve layout, seating options, and noise management. Yes. So now the problem has been defined. Problem has been defined. Go ahead to start brainstorming. Like you guys are already brainstorming in the comment section, talking about padded walls, moving to a different environment. So this is when you now get to ideation. Before it was just a lot of random complaints about the coffee shop, a lot of data that you do not know what to do about. By the time we have defined it, we now know what exactly we are going for, or what I've narrowed it down, and now we can now start brainstorming ways to solve the. So yeah, in summary, first empathy to clarity. Key methods used in synthesis of research includes empathy maps and affinity map. Empathy map helps designers understand deeply by organizing what users say, think, do, and feel based on research data. They're typically divided into four quadrants: the says, the thinks, the does, and the feels. So creating empathy maps makes it easier to step in the user's shoes and prioritize their actual points. Affinity map diagrams are used to group and organize sticky notes from research into meaningful categories. So everything I'm just saying here, I'm just restating everything I've said throughout this whole class. The affinity map method helps to identify patterns, themes, and connections that might not be obvious from the raw data. Synthesizing research through these tools allows teams to shift from scattered observations to clear, actionable insights. People that are still ideating in the chat section, you see how we moved from just analyzing data, and now everybody's mind is now has been shifted. Start thinking of solutions to the problem. Why? Because the problem has been defined as clearly as possible. We know what routes to take. We know what the users want. So that's the let's say that's the importance of the defined stage. That's the gravity of what defining the problem does for us. It gives us that that tool to start start ideating. Like I said here, the very first thing is the defined stage moves us from empathy to clarity. Now you can now think straight. And the solutions that you are brainstorming are not just random solutions or things that might not really help the user in the long run. So that's the summary of this class. Are there any questions? Any questions? We learned a lot today. Empathy, affinity, and so are there any questions that we are still confused about? Okay, Adeze said UX is so complex, Daniel. Yes, it's very, very complex. It's very complex. If I don't know if you have been following you would have realized now that it's not just designing. Yes, a graphic designer might have a like they might have some idea with the designing, but it's more than just that. It's a lot more than that. That's why we are being paid more. So there's a reason why they are being paid more. It's not just plus its applications. We are doing a lot of mental brain work, like a lot of brain, yeah. So for both fields are equally important. I think UX can argue with someone that UX is more tiring than coding. I'm not like I'm not I'm not joking. It can be more stressful than coding, to be honest, especially UX. So Oreoluwa, let me not spoil your name. You can let's hear
Okay, ma, please, I need you to throw more light on the affinity quadrant.
affinity quadrant. The one we let's see. See this one.
Yes, sorry, the map, sorry.
Okay, so what exactly what confuses you here?
Like when you say the word, like when you give an instance with the case study with the English language where you have agreement with two words, like a verb and a verb, then
Okay, yes, exactly.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What I'm trying to say is there is that if you look at group one, you see things like forget daily. So this is our insight. This is okay. This is the interview transcript that we analyzed. Yeah, and so we got the insight that people usually forget daily expenses. People usually don't have time for data entry. People want seamless and effortless tracking. So if you see, if you look at these three things, they are different from different people. But you see that there is a theme. There's something that is like that is just encompassing everything, tracking struggles. Each one is pointing to tracking struggles. So we can group these three things and just label it tracking struggles. So that's why I said the whole they are the same English words, but same English words, same alphabet, but some of the different categories that they are in. Some might be nouns, some might be verbs, some might be adjective. So all these things here, even spreadsheet overwhelming, feels applications are too complicated, tries multiple tools, feels guilty about poor saving habits. There are one, two, three, four. Okay, there's not 9, 10, 11. There's 11 insights here. 11 insights here, which is a pool of a very randomized scattered data. Just imagine that this is just you just have this 11 paper on your decks. Just imagine this scenario with me. You have this 11 paper on your deck scattered everywhere. So now by the time you start looking at the paper, analyzing it and finding, okay, some people find spreadsheets overwhelming. They feel apps are too complicated and they have tried multiple tools but gives up. So you see that these are the three different insights from three different users. But it's direct, it gives you one direction. What's the direction? They are two. I don't know if do you understand that the scenario I gave?
yes, yes, ma, I understand.
Exactly. So it's just the whole idea is about categorizing information to make it easier to understand. So now instead of working with 11 insights, now we can work with four groups. We just know that one, people have problem with struggle with tracking. That's the group one. Two, people are frustrated with the two. Three, challenges associated with savings. And four, saving yeah, people have different saving behaviors. So if we are looking at whatever audience we're looking at, so you probably have to cater for different saving behaviors. These are different groups that we're able to categorize out of 11 insights. So it has kind of it has made the picture clearer to us to know, okay, where are we, what are we going through, what are we going to be doing. Like I said, like okay, from group I mentioned that we can add an educational part to our budgeting application where we can teach people how to spend better and save more. So this is catering for group four. If, for group two now, tool frustration. We already know that the apps are complicated, they are overwhelming. People have been giving up on tools. I think that these three things are pointing to tool frustration. So what's the insight here, or what's the takeaway from here? We can simply decide to make our own application simple and intuitive. So I think the whole flow, the way we are
Yes,
just that's the whole idea of application map.
okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Um, any more questions? Okay, Adeze, let's hear from you.
Okay, good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Please, can you hear me? Sorry for the
I can hear you.
background. So regarding the task, you were asking for my second task.
Okay.
For the second task, I mistakenly, like I didn't know, but I submitted it in the form link side, the space for the form link.
So the space for the form link is there a Google document that is there?
Yes. Then
All right.
inside the link is the form link.
Okay, I'll check for it. Thank you. I'll look on that. I'll check back. I'll check on it. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you, ma.
Okay. Daniel said some of us joined late. Are we going to be graded regardless of the timing? So for that, well, there's nothing we can do. If you're even if you submit late, you still have the opportunity to be and to be graded and promoted, but you will just not get the full pass mark of 100. Like there's nothing you can do if you submit late to get 100. The highest you can attain is the pass mark of 75. So depending on the pass mark of that particular task, that's what you would be graded. So yeah, Chikodili, let me hear your question.
Good evening, ma. Can you hear me, ma?
Can hear you.
Okay, so regarding the tax, like when you said if you score below 75, that maybe you dropped a comment or something. But my score
Okay.
there is 70. My
Arab Moy. I cannot. Daniel asked, I only got one tax on LMS, which is tax 0. Daniel, what's your score on tax 0? You can hear me. What's your score? The map, affinity map, and all of that. Is there any map we can focus? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can narrow it down. So that when we are defining, there are a lot more methods to use. So depending on your own insights. Like for empathy map, you can only use empathy map for qualitative data. For quantitative data, like data gotten from survey, you will not really get a lot of information to use in empathy maps, even affinity maps. So just depending on the problem you are trying to solve or the timeline you have, sometimes you might just have 2 weeks to do this thing. Choose the one that will give you the answer you want. That is, you can do it in a day. So just can choose. There's a lot of options that you can do. If you want to use both of them, fine, to help you in the long run. But in the end, you just have to pick and choose the one you you need. That- Okay. Said thank you. Okay, for AJ, if you have given comment access, I will comment on your work soon this evening. So just look out for that. I don't get asked, Emma, is it only when we meet here on Zoom that we can gain access to you? Yes. Yes, but I'm always available to at the Discord channel. So just any question you have there, just put it in there and me and my mentor would get back to you there. Okay, Adefunke, you can unmute your mic. Let's hear.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you guys short. Sorry, Adifunke. I want to know if there are still questions regarding the class because I would like to stop the recording now. If there are more questions regarding the class, if there are none and you just have problems with LMS, I would like to stop the recording now. So is your question regarding the class or regarding your problem with LMS?
It is regarding my problem with LMS.
Okay.
Okay, Ijoma, you can stop the recording.